Hello, everybody, and welcome to our semi-annual meeting for the Hampden Heights Civic Association. We are glad you were able to join us today. We have several important items to review with respect to the progress of the renovations at the Hampden Heights Swim and Tennis Club, which is going to be the focus of this meeting tonight. Our agenda will be to discuss the recently announced expected delayed opening of the pool before we then go into some updates of other work that's been happening at the pool and that is in progress. And then we'll wrap up to answer any questions you may have and to have any discussion that you would like to have with us at this time. We do ask that if you could share your questions, save your questions until the end of today's discussion. We think that will help us make sure we get through everything. So we'll start with the possible delay, the expected delay in the opening of the Hampden Heights Swim and Tennis Club and go a little bit into detail about why that's happening, what we kind of have left remaining, and then we'll show you some pictures of the progress to date. So first, I want you to know that the only reason we are in the situation we are in of having to possibly open late is because of the project taken this off season to replaster our pool. This was the one major project we knew we had to do without further delay this year. And it happens to be the one that is now keeping us from being able to potentially open on time. We shared this project with you before, but I just wanted to reiterate that this is a massive undertaking. It can only be completed during favorable weather conditions, especially with respect to the temperature of the ground. A lot of the work is subterranean, and we need to wait until the ground has thawed for much of that work to take place. As I'll show you on a future slide, this is a project that should be undertaken every 10 years or so, and it's been well longer than that since this pool has undertaken that. As a result, we have been encountering some challenges that were above and beyond the original scope of the project that we hadn't anticipated and couldn't have anticipated until we got some of the work started, and I'll show you some examples of that. I know many of you are eager to know when we expect to open, how long the delay is likely to be. Unfortunately, we can't give you an exact date. We ourselves don't have an exact date of expected completion. And a lot of it will depend upon upcoming weather and how the weather is. Work can only be done on dry days, as well as supply of labor for the remaining work. Know that the board is doing everything that we can to stay on top of our contractor who's responsible for getting this work completed. We have not exhausted, there's no avenue we have not exhausted when it comes to doing everything in our power to get this work done as quickly as possible. We are also exploring potential alternatives if we need to in order to get the pool refinished as soon as humanly possible. Due to the delayed opening, we are also working, one, to help solve the challenges for our swim team who needs the pool to practice. They had already made arrangements for the preseason, so we're now looking into possible options for them to be able to practice at alternative locations until we open. We're also looking into scenarios for early payments and other structures for our guards to make sure they're taken care of and to make sure that we still have them on board when we do open. We had some folks who had early season party reservations, some graduation parties and other things. We are working one-on-one with anybody in that situation to see if there's any way we can still host an engagement at our facilities without the pool, or if we can reschedule if they would like, or at the very least offering a refund for that. In terms of how we hope to help make up this extremely disappointing delay, to our members. We're hopeful that we would be able to extend the season by 1 or 2 weeks after Labor Day, as we did a couple years ago for the first and only time. We're also looking at how we can extend hours during the regular season once we're open, to help make up for lost time that we're going to be having these first couple of weeks. We're also exploring possible options of making use of our upgraded facilities without the pool, to the extent that that's possible while the work is still being completed. So we are currently, our first priority is staying on top of the work in progress. It's a day-to-day, all hands on deck kind of situation. And then we are looking into these other options once we feel that that work is going steadily and we're getting closer to a firmer opening. So with that, I would like to show you all the other work that's happening, as well as the work itself on the replaster and on the pool grounds as well, and the sports courts. So as we previously shared with you, we had 2 big projects this off season. The one being, and the main one being, the pool replaster itself. The other one being a renovation of our tennis courts. And we have also been planning several other upgrades on top of those, taking advantage of this opportunity to make some other long overdue, much needed upgrades to the pool. So I'll be sharing some of those bonus improvements with you. But first, let's look at the pool replaster. As a refresher, we contracted this work out to Swim Service and Supply LLC. We went through a competitive bidding process. We went with them largely because they came in significantly under our next possible contractor. So we are saving quite a bit of money by having gone with this contractor, even though we're disappointed that it looks like the work might be keeping us from opening on time. What to expect from the pool replaster itself: brand new plaster and tiling of the pool floor and walls. We have ordered all of these materials and they are on hand. We're also getting new seamless cast and pour coping stone around the edges. This will require brand new decking along the north side of the pool, and I'll show you some pictures of where that has been demoed. And then we also were able to add 2 new entry areas to the pool using egress steps. We previously hoped this might allow us to expand to 6 lanes from 5. We found out in further discussion that not only would this prove quite costly, but it would have limited benefits, as it would narrow the lanes to such a width that they would be more difficult to share during swim team practices and other events. So we ended up going back and sticking with the 5 lanes. We're also going to have our baby pool acid washed and ready for opening this season. So now I'm going to share with you some pictures. This was taken today. In fact, all the pictures I'm going to share with you today were taken earlier. But this is the current status of the pool plaster. It looks pretty grungy at the moment, but in fact, this is actually showing a lot of work that has already taken place, getting the pool ready for the step of being tiled and plastered and having the coping stone added. You can see over here on the right side of the picture where my cursor is, that's where the north deck had to be pulled up, and we'll be having new concrete laid down there. And then here are our new steps that you can see have already been installed and are just awaiting the final plastering and tiling. So that's what our new entry system will look like. One main advantage, besides being more reliable than our old steps, is that it gives more width to the lanes for the swim team and other reasons when they're being used. Here are a couple other views of the new steps that we'll be using starting this season. All right, so that's in a nutshell the pool replaster. Of course, it will look much more lovely when it's actually plastered and tiled. I did want to point out before I move on, right here in the center of the screen, this is one of the biggest unexpected challenges that we found once work was underway, and that was a huge crack running across the whole width of the pool that is requiring additional attention and resources and time. This had to be taken care of and was a bigger job than a normal pool replaster and retile, for example. Also, we discovered in the process of redoing the deck over here that we had several broken skimmers that needed to be replaced, and we're in the process of having those installed. But that in a nutshell is the status of the plaster and where it is currently at. The sports courts have been installed. They're just awaiting painting, which will be taking place next week. They came along with new 10-foot black galvanized steel fencing, enclosure, and gates. And we have now finalized the layout of these courts. And what we will have is a combination of tennis with both basketball and pickleball. On the south court, there will be an arc for a basketball area, but the main focus of that court on the south will be the tennis. On the north court, the focus will primarily be on pickleball. We'll have 4 pickleball courts installed, but we'll still have some skeleton lines for tennis so that tennis can still be used here as well. And I have some images to share with you of what that will look like. So here are the new courts with the new fencing themselves. They've actually been done for some time. They look great. And it's very exciting to be regaining this property that was heavily underutilized previously. And then on the next slides, we have some images of what the pools, the courts will look like themselves. This is a little pixelated. It was taken from a pretty small image, but we selected a purple inset on a teal background that is aligned with our new color palette. And so this is essentially how that south court will look with a small basketball arc on the north side. And for the north courts, we will be emphasizing the pickleball. We have 4 pickleball courts here with white lines emphasizing the tennis, which will also be an option at times. We did several rounds of sound studies to measure directly the amount of sound to make sure that we're not being bothersome to our nearest neighbors. And those studies all came back favorable that it would not be above an acceptable level of a decibel reading for that. So we ended up going with the 4 pickleball courts. We're very excited to have this new amenity at our pool as part of our sports courts. So now quickly, let me take you through the remaining improvements that we've embarked upon this off season. And then I see there are some questions arising in the chat and elsewhere. We'll have plenty of time for discussion and Q&A after we go through some of the additional improvements. So on top of the pool replaster and the sports courts, we were also able to add a significant amount of additional decking. We'll be adding commercial grade furnishings there, outdoor games, string lighting, etc., all along those decks. I'll be able to show you some pictures in just a second. We're including a community dining table area, as well as the usual grills, additional commercial grade outdoor seating, commercial grade ping pong, cornhole, and other games. For landscaping, we've included hedging by the tennis courts. We've added some movable planters that will also freshen up the space. We're adding sunshades to keep us protected, some string lights. And we were also able to add a significant amount of expanded lawn space and trees, which I'll show you some pictures of. So in all of these ways, we're trying to green the space, even as we add some concrete decking in certain locations. I'd like to give a shout out to all of our volunteers who came out for a volunteer day. They helped put together loads and loads of furniture, some of which I'll be showing you pictures of in just a second. So we were very excited when we realized we'd be able to replace not only the tennis court fencing, but all of the fencing along the entire perimeter. And we've done so with 8-foot fencing, which will help keep us more secure and hopefully will eliminate the need for barbed wire and other preventative measures. So we now have new 8-inch steel galvanized fencing on the north and south side, and on the front we have a cedar horizontal fencing, which, as I noted before, we pushed out towards the front sidewalk in the parking lot to give us additional lawn space and trees inside our fencing at the club. We're also installing a new sliding gate on the north side of the front, and this will be wide enough to allow access for food trucks and other ice cream trucks and other necessary things in addition to our construction equipment. We are going to be painting all of our exterior buildings, the clubhouse, the snack shack, the pavilion, giving them all a fresh coat of paint so that everything will look sharp and match all the other work we've been doing. We're also adding an additional storage shed on the property, and we've installed a security system at long last to help keep our property safe at all times. So next, I'm going to share pictures of all of these different things, and then we'll turn over to some new services that we're also offering, and then we'll be able to have our discussion and Q&A. So here's our new entryway and our new front of the property with the cedar fencing. This was just installed almost completely today, just a few remaining segments. So this is how the front will look. This is where we pushed out to acquire more lawn space inside our fencing, and I have some pictures of what that looks like right here. So here we're looking through the new 8-foot galvanized fencing, and we're seeing all of this area in between the old fence and the new fence is new space that we've gained inside our fences for the upcoming season. Here's how that looks kind of from a broader view. This is where the new sliding gate will go that will allow for possible food trucks, ice cream trucks, in addition to our regular equipment that is needed. And here's the view from the inside with the playground behind it. So this offers us more privacy and is also a little bit more aesthetically pleasing. Here is the new decking we've added. So we've added here along the whole length of the tennis courts, additional decking, and also a wraparound sidewalk on the side of the snack shack. We had to add some backfill and sod here to level this off so that it's a gradual entryway into the new decking. Here it is from some other views. This is some of the hedging we've added. There's still more to be added on the north side. Here are the furnishings we've already had delivered and assembled. We just got a new shipment of additional materials, so there's going to be more than this yet, but these will be made available for all kinds of communal seating areas on the decking, along with shade structures to help keep it cool and additional greening of this area. These on the left are the planters I mentioned, which will have greenery on top, and they're movable, so we can rearrange them as needed. And on the right, again, you're seeing that hedging that will really look great in a few years when it's at full size, but already looks good. This is a rendering of the type of storage shed that we are going to have built. That will be built on the south end of the new decking, close to the tennis courts, so we can easily access supplies for pickleball, tennis, and any other needs. And on the right, we have several different colors we painted in helping us decide which final gray or bluish gray we would go with for the painting of the exteriors. So the painting of the exteriors will be one of these grays in the middle here with black trim. And you can see we're reinforcing as well the clubhouse as needed with additional new wood. So it should all be looking very sleek when all is said and done. With that, I would like to now turn it over to some guests who are joining us tonight who represent new services and providers that we're going to be hosting. So we'll start with welcoming our new pool manager. So as a reminder, we found out earlier this year that our pool management company would no longer be servicing pools in our area. And after exploring new possible pool management companies, we discovered that there really are no longer any companies with openings to service us. We were very fortunate that one of our own members and a board member, Katie Evers, was able to step up and take over this position. So I would just quickly, Katie, like to introduce you and let you share some new expectations and what else members can expect.
Way to put me on the spot, Mark. Okay, so I am Katie Evers. You guys have belonged to the pool before, you know me. I've been current co-membership chair for the past 3 years. And while in that position, I have been serving as the liaison on the board between the pool management company and our board, and just trying to make sure that everyone stays happy. This off season and starting in January, I went and got lifeguard certified. I also got my certification of pool operator. So I'm a certified pool operator now. And I've been learning all the ropes to, keep our club up and running and as healthy and happy as possible. I hired back 10 of our amazing guards from last year, and we have 4 new guards. Those are also the 4 new guards are members of our families. So I'm really excited to work with all these kids. Everyone seems really positive and happy so far. It's going to be a great season. And I'm just really, really looking forward to having more supervision for the guards, especially this year with me. I also am a paying member, so there will be times when, if I'm not in a guard shirt or in a guard suit, if there's a problem, then you'll need to take it to the manager on duty. And my managers this year will be Max Eggleston and KJ Berry, 2 very qualified young men that have done a great job in the past. And I'm very much looking forward to, having them help me run the pool in a smooth way. And I really just, again, want this year to make a bigger splash. I want it to be cleaner and better than it ever has been. So with that, please just do remember, if we can just respect me when I am being a member and respect me when I am being manager. I would greatly appreciate it.
Great. Thank you so much, Katie. I don't know where we'd be without you. And it's exciting that we will have a full-time pool manager on premises for the first time in over a decade. And I think it will really help not only provide a better experience, but help us be more efficient with our resources. So thank you again for taking that on. It's been a huge undertaking, and we're very excited to have you. With new sports courts, we were able to secure a new tennis pro who will be leading all kinds of options for different levels of lessons, as well as some additional opportunities above and beyond that. Ryan himself wasn't able to make it tonight. He's, I believe, offering lessons as we speak, but we do have his colleague Courtney here. Courtney, are you able to share a little bit about what we can expect from the tennis pro?
Hey, this is Ryan. I actually just got rained off the court.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well,
Right, so
even
I was able
better.
to call.
Okay, great. We have Ryan and Courtney here.
Hello, everybody. Look forward to meeting everyone.
Great, thank you. Are you able to share a little bit about what they can expect and where they can go to sign up?
Yes, we started programs with your programs. Start your programs in June. The website is live with all the registration. I think there's a link on your website that goes to our website. So we're going to have tennis lessons for the kids ages 4, 5, and 6, 7. It's the red ball, and then we have the orange ball where the tennis players are 7, 8, 9, 10, and then we have the green dot tennis balls for 11, 12-year-olds. We're also going to run some fun socials. We're going to do private tennis lessons if you guys want to do that, small private groups, like a Memorial Day social, hopefully if the courts are ready, a July 4th and a Labor Day. Social will be as fun, maybe even a parent-child event, and get a pickleball in-house league for you guys. That we're looking at Tuesday, Thursday night right now to get that started, but I'll have more details on that in the next couple of days.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. We're sorry you got rained out, but we're glad you were able to make it. We're really excited that not only are we offering improve facilities and bringing back the tennis courts to life, but we're going to provide some of the services so people can really learn how to use them and how to play properly and competitively. So we look forward to working with you all, and we'll share the link for signing up for tennis lessons again with you all soon, and hope to see you all out there.
Awesome. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
We're also offering some new events or new and improved events, upgraded events. I'd like to turn it over now to Christine Everson to quickly introduce our Hampton Heights Market concept, as well as some information on our 60th anniversary party.
Yeah, I'm not going to turn my camera on just because it slows Zoom down too much, but I'm happy to announce that we are planning on 3 markets that will highlight small businesses from within our HHCA, HHST community, as well as the larger community of the Hampden neighborhood. The applications for those are open, so we'll have 3 events. We'll have up to probably about 6 different vendors, and you'll be able to take a look at what they have, support a local business, and just have another feature at the pool. So if you haven't applied for that, the applications are still open, and you can take a look at our website for more information. For the 60th anniversary party, this is our annual fundraiser. We decided to have it a little later in the summer just to make sure that it's warm enough and that more people are around for it. It is our 60th anniversary, so we're really leaning into that for the theme. More information will be coming out as the season begins. But we did decide to move our silent auction to pre-season. Our silent auction is a big part of the fundraiser, and it does bring in quite a bit of money that we do use for, our normal operations and for the repairs and remodels that we've been doing. If you haven't seen the auction, it's via Give Butter. There's lots of items. One that's really hot right now on the bidding is the ultimate reserved parking spot. Basically what that means is that your family gets a reserved parking spot right at the front. No one can park in it. It'll be reserved for your family only all summer. And you can also decorate the parking spot and paint it in any way you would like, as long as the board approves the artwork. Some other options include extending Adult Swim. Those 15 minutes fly by during Adult Swim, so you can bid on the opportunity to extend Adult Swim from 15 to 30 minutes. We have some party packages. We have some racket sport related items. The auction runs through the 31st. So get your bids in, and help us raise some money for the pool.
Great. Thank you, Christine. With that, we've shared with you all the updates that we have prepared. There are some other additional surprises coming, but that's the bulk of it. I just like to conclude before we transition into our Q&A and discussion, just to say, one, we were really looking forward tonight to this being all about the improvements and the surprises that we've been really working our butts off on this past off season. And we're really bummed out when we learned that instead we would be spending a lot of the time discussing the fact that we are going to have to open late. This all only became crystal clear within the last week or so. We were still very hopeful and optimistic for a possible opening on time. It's been beyond difficult working with our contractor on this, which has been a big part of the challenge. And we are doing everything we can, and we have done everything we can to avoid this situation. Unfortunately, this is just the way it has gone. A lot of that is out of everyone's control, all of that is directly out of our board's control. But the board has been working really very hard, especially in the past couple of weeks, as we've been trying to avoid this unfortunate situation. With that, though, we understand you have questions, you have concerns. We'll do our best to answer them. Some of them we may not be able to respond to today, but we will take them all down and get to them as quickly as we can. So who would like to start with a question?
Mark, would you like me to read off some from the chat?
Sure.
Okay, so we had Brian asking, why was the work started on the sports courts before the pool? A simple Google search will tell you how long it takes to lay concrete for a pool. I know we can't go backwards in time, but this seems like a major oversight.
Well, I'll start by saying, Brian, we would love to have you on the board. Come and help us. We are doing our best. And if and when you're on the board, you're going to find out there's a way more detail to all of the things you're talking about than might seem obvious by a simple Google search. The sports court actually did not require any kind of in-ground work. All the concrete was laid on top of the existing concrete, so it had very different start dates and options than the pool replaster. They're completely different projects. They in no way overlapped or influenced each other in terms of when we started or how it started. A lot.
I can add some color on the actual replaster.
Thank you, Christine.
Yeah, so we couldn't empty the pool in the fall because the pool has to have water in it so that the shell doesn't pop out of the ground. So for the weather conditions to be correct, we had to wait until the spring to drain the pool again so the shell didn't pop out. It's also very specialized work. There aren't a lot of vendors that do pool replaster and refurbishing. As Mark mentioned, this was a competitive bid process. We met with the contractor we decided to go with, as well as Colorado Hardscapes. They both provided competitive bids. We had an interview process with them. We requested references and examples of previous work. Those were the two bids we could find. There weren't other companies that were willing to give us bids. There aren't a lot of people who do this specialized concrete work. So it might seem simple. It might seem like we prioritize the sport court over the pool. That's just not the case. And so hopefully that answers your question.
Do you want to read me another question? I haven't been monitoring the chat.
Yep. Next one is, it looks like from Sean, not trying to pin you all down on a date with this, but do you have a sense as to how long the delay for opening is? Like, is it a month or a week or two?
Yeah, so obviously if we knew an exact date, we would tell you the exact date. Our fear in giving you any sense of what we've been told is that itself could end up changing. We've had quite a range when we've looked at possible alternative ways of getting this work done at this point. All of it seems to be in the weeks range, not the months range. We had one contractor who told us they could definitely complete the work by July 4th if we wanted to go with them. And we felt that sounded too late for us to switch contractors to go with that new bid at that point. So to the extent that helps frame it, we ourselves would be devastated if it went as late as July 4th. We can't say that it wouldn't go that late because we really have no control over many of the factors of this. We are hopeful that it would be a matter of weeks. We can't pin down a more firm date other than hopefully sometime in mid-June. which would be essentially 3 weeks into the season. So our hope is that we are able to fully open mid-June. We just don't want to get people's hopes up for such an opening if it does end up being another week or another 2 weeks after that. And that's where we have our hands pretty tied. We've talked to several other potential contractors to maybe help complete this work. The reality is they're all booked. This is their busiest time of year. There are maybe maybe some other option we can come up with. We're exploring all options. But currently we're just working as closely as we can with our current contractor in hopes that they are able to deliver by their hopeful estimated date of sometime in mid-June.
Add-on question from Sean is basically, will the members be included on how the decision to extend the season or hours is implemented? For example, they have a young child, so a later closing time would not be beneficial, but an earlier opening would be great.
Yeah, I think we're limited in some ways on how early we can open, primarily during the week with practices and swim lessons. That said, on the weekend, we're less constrained. And I think we would hope to look into all options and to listen to feedback. And if the options we propose don't work for you and your household and you have an idea for something else, we would be open to amending those options as well. In terms of what maybe you can expect, I think, for example, if we open 2 weeks late, I think our solution would be to try to stay open 2 weeks into September as an alternative. If it goes beyond that and we have to add additional hours, I think we'll look into adding additional family night type nights. We'll look at blocking off some of our Thursday, Friday, Saturday night party nights to make sure that those nights are available for members. I think we'll look at a 10 a.m. opening on the weekends as like a starting point. But yes, open to feedback, ideas, suggestions.
Mark, can I just jump in with one thing that this is Megan Guest, Sean's my husband. As school like is in September, we're looking at like June being when the kids are not at school too and having a young kid. Would it be also like feasible to be open like all weekends in September? Like, is there,
Yeah.
because like that 1-for-1
Yeah.
week isn't okay. And how can we
Yeah.
give this feedback?
We've even thought about just doing, I mean, it all depends on kind of how much time we lose. But if it's a limited amount of time, we were considering just doing weekends in September, for example. There are other
Yeah,
issues
cool.
when it comes to that, because then we're heating a pool to keep it open only 2 days. But yeah, what's the best way to share feedback? I think the best way right now is to reach out over email to
Okay.
hhca.bod@gmail.com. Or to submit a contact form on our website. But we'll likely, as we have more ideas, more details, we'll probably also be seeking input in other ways. So thank you.
Okay. I appreciate that. And then, sorry, one last thing. I loved coming to volunteer day. Katie Evers, thanks so much for putting that on. Like, I know there's one coming up, but like a lot of us are enthusiastic and positive about the member opening. Like, we'd love to just also help. And so like, I just encourage y'all to like continue to engage members, because I live down the street. A lot of other people are like enthusiastic and helping it get open. So like leveraging that. I just wanted to plug that. So thanks, and eager to continue to help.
Great. Thank you, Megan. We'll do our best to leverage as much help as we can manage.
Okay, there are several questions about prorating membership fees and or reimbursement of swim team dues.
So swim team is kind of its own entity. I can't really respond to that. Our hope is that swim team will go off without too much interruption if they're able, for example, to rent an alternative practice facility. in terms of prorating our own memberships, that is not something that we are able to consider. We're a community-owned pool. We're your board, but we're also your fellow members who have volunteered to take on this work of managing the pool and doing the necessary work that needs to be done. But we all own the pool together. So we aren't in a position where we could afford to offer mass refunds or prorations. So that is not on the table.
Okay, let's see. There is a question from Jenna after a very supportive comment. Basically, the question is, are there services that could be provided by us members that could accelerate the timeline?
I don't think so. The remaining work is essentially all of the demo and prep work has essentially is close to completion, and all of that itself is quite highly specialized labor. The finishing work that remains includes tiling of the pool, plastering of the pool, adding the coping stone, which is a very specialized job, and adding concrete of a very special kind required for pool decks along the north deck. So we're not really in a position, unless somebody owns a licensed and insured business of this kind, to take on that kind of help. If you have ideas, suggestions, we are open to hear them. And feel free to send us an email with your idea. But know that we've also already, aside from asking our members if they know how to retile pools, we've asked Colorado Hardscapes to come back in, give us their professional opinion, to reach out to their networks. We've looked into our own networks. We've asked every concrete guy we know if they know people who do this kind of work. Through that, we've found one or two potential options, but at this point, that wouldn't necessarily accelerate the opening date. So at this point, even if we had everything in place going all day, we would still have to open a little bit late.
Just to add on though, we will need another volunteer day. As Mark mentioned, we have more furniture coming in. I know how much fun we had assembling that the last volunteer day, but there will be things that members can help us do at the very end to get the pool ready. So we will be in communication about the next volunteer day and when that could be and how you could help. Mark, I think that's all of the actual questions. There are some other comments, but no other questions from the chat.
All right.
Something else. This is Mark Beaton. Something else that wasn't mentioned by Mark earlier on when we were talking about some of the challenges we've run into. I don't know if you remember a couple of years ago when the light was electrocuting people. That has been also some of the challenges we've run into is the electrical system as well, which when we started digging the stairs, we uncovered some issues there. So 60 years. It's a facelift. It's more than a facelift at this point. I think it's full plastic surgery of a neglected 60-year-old pool. So hopefully we will. We're all disappointed, but we're all encouraged, and we're going to get it up and going here this summer.
Yeah, and in a similar vein, other pools have had to go through this. Eastmore recently underwent a similar process, and they were not able to open for the entirety of a season. So we are doing everything possible to ensure that something that extreme does not happen. Our hope is to minimize this as much as possible, and we are really doing everything we think we can. We're always open to additional ideas, constructive suggestions, but we're really already exhausting as much of our energy as we can on this. So unfortunately, there's no magic bullet solution out there that will have us opening next Friday as we had hoped.
Sorry, Mark, I put one more question in the chat. I feel like the fact that you've been talking about exploring other contractors and companies, Does that mean something has gone seriously wrong with the current contractor? Do we have any financial recourse with that?
That's a fair question. I think at this point, we just want to make sure we have all of our bases covered. As of today, our current contractor's subcontractor for the current work was there working all day, making progress. So we just want to make sure we have a plan B in the event we have to go with it. It would clearly be a huge challenge to switch contractors at this point. And there would be just some financial losses involved with that. No, overall, there's no threat to our overall financial health. We just want to do this as quickly as possible, as affordably as possible. We would be willing to spend a little bit more if there was a way to get it to open earlier, but at this point, we don't have any such option. All right. If there are any other further questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. Our board of directors email address is hhcabod@gmail.com. Otherwise, we will do our best to share information with you as soon as we know it, to give you a better sense of when we'll be opening as soon as that is more clear. And we'll continue to do everything we can to accelerate it as much as we can. All right, thank you all. We'll be sharing out a recording. Please share far and wide for those who may have missed us tonight. And we'll do our best to keep things moving.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you, Mark.